how was the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo? Well, thanks for asking. I have a lot to say about it. First and foremost, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were kind of shocked by the events that happened. It's kind of a cliffhanger at the end. And if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, the original game, chances are, that demo left you with a big cliffhanger, right? Like, oh my god, kind of a bit of a plot twist. Like, you weren't expecting things to go so dark in that moment. So I'm pretty sure it must have been impactful for a lot of people. Not to me. Not to me or anybody else who played the original game, because we already knew what was going to happen. As soon as we saw the demo takes place in Cloud's home, and Sephiroth is there, and you visit the reactor in there, yeah, I mean, at the very least, I was like, so this is the demo, huh? Now we know what's gonna happen. And you know what happened at the end of the demo? What I was already expecting to happen. So it happened. I wasn't shocked because I already knew that was gonna happen. But I don't know, from a cinematic and graphics perspective, it was pretty cool to see that. It feels more, I guess, more impactful than the original version with its polygonal graphics and shit. But now in this AAA 2024 level of graphics, it was more impactful. And, well, it brought back all of those memories when I first saw that scene in the original game. That was like re-seeing that again, reliving that, it was... Well, unfortunately, it wasn't as impactful for me, but I like that. I was like, man, new gamers who never played the original are gonna experience this and gonna be like, what? Sephiroth, what the hell? Right? Yeah, so I think it was pretty clever to end the demo right there. Pretty interesting in such a dark and tragic moment. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Gameplay-wise, well, it's the same. It's more of the same Devil May Cry, God of War hack and slash combat. Nothing new. I did like the fact that you can... I don't remember if this feature was in the original game, in part 1. But you can just let the characters fight by themselves. Although they suck balls, man. I was like, okay, let's go with this mode to see the characters doing all the fighting while I sit back on my ass and cross my arms and see what they do, and they suck. They're so freaking terrible, man, at fighting. And like 10 seconds later, I was there with the controller again. I changed the mode and controlled them. Yeah, go manual. Do not let the AI control your characters for you. It's just ridiculous. I like the fact that you can change between characters, just like in the first game. Controlling Sephiroth was a blast. He's a much better character than Cloud. Man. I had a blast fighting with Sephiroth. And what else? That's it. Tifa looked sexy as usual with her cowgirl outfit. But she's once again, she's censored. You can't see anything below. Down there. She's wearing some kind of shorts. I don't know. But yeah. And the graphics obviously look better. I played the demo on my PlayStation 5. Obviously, they look a little bit better than in the original PS4 version that came out 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? Yeah, right in 2020. Anyway, so yeah, good demo, decent demo. My one and only complaint is that Cloud's town seemed to be kind of inclusive for no reason. I mean, what's the name of the world in Final Fantasy VII? I can't remember the name of the world, but I don't remember the game taking place in planet Earth in 2024. That doesn't make any sense. And there were like characters that looked from different places of planet Earth in there, and I was like, these characters, I mean, these races don't even exist in this game. Like, what are they doing here in Cloud's town? Well, it's 2024. Weren't we talking last time about the ESG or something, and forced inclusion in Nibelheim? Thanks. And the world is called Midgar. Oh yeah, I remember Midgar. No, Gaia is from Final Fantasy IX. And that's the other world. Midgar, yeah. Oh my god, what a creative name, huh? Midgar, without the D at the end to make it cooler. Oh, it's edgier without the D, Midgar. And I always thought that was stupid. When I first played the game, I was like, oh man, this is horseshit. But yeah, that's my one only complaint. But apart from that, it's part 2, the continuation of a game. Some small new features in there, but nothing relevant. it's pretty much the same game as before, just part 2. You know, the dot hack games or the Trails games, you know. Every game offers a few small new improvements, but it's basically the same game, right? Like this, the one game cut to different parts, and this is part 2. The end, nothing special. So am I excited for it? Well, not really, to be honest. You know, I'm a big fan of the original game, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the remake, part 1. So I like the demo, I like what I played. I'm not looking forward to the release. I'm not gonna get it. I don't give a damn about it. I'm probably gonna wait a few years until the price drops considerably and play it. And that's it. That's all I have to say about the demo. Good demo, though. Good demo. Story-wise, it's a good demo. As you may already know, no need to revisit this topic, but I have to because it's live and I'm a big fan. And as you may already know, one of my ultimate all-time heroes passed away. In case you didn't know, in case you missed the news, Suikoden creator Yoshitaka Murayama died at 55 years old. Very tragic news. It hits harder, you know, when you see an actor or director that you liked, or a video game composer like Koichi Sugiyama when he passed away. It wasn't as shocking to me because Koichi Sugiyama passed away at 90 years old. Like, he really old. Like, he lived his life. He didn't die young. He died old. And also, let's face it, I wasn't the biggest fan of his music. I've never been the biggest Dragon Quest fan. So, you know, when he died, it was like sad news. I felt it, but it didn't shock me, you know. But reading about Yoshitaka Murayama dying, that was pretty shocking. He's one of my heroes. I mentioned in the video, I made a video. In the video I mentioned he was one of my 5 favorite video game personalities and all-time influences, up there with Masato Kato, Yasunori Mitsuda, definitely. Hironobu Sakaguchi, even though I don't respect the guy anymore, you know, he was one of my heroes many years ago. And who else is there? I mean, Ryota Kosuka, the music composer of SMT, Shoji Meguro, specifically, Tetsuya Takahashi. I have lots of them, right? But Yoshitaka Murayama, I mean, he created my favorite video game series of all time. So when I read the news, I was shocked, man. I can't believe it, you know. Is this real? And I looked it up online and saw like a dozen magazines talking about it. And I was like, oh my God, you gotta be shitting me. It's real? He's really dead? And at 55 years old, wow. I mean, sure, the guy was fat and he was struggling with some illnesses. And they didn't give any specifics on how he died, on what really killed him. But I read somewhere in a couple of websites that it was due to multiple organ failure. So several of his organs failed at the same time and he died. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but maybe we will know at a later date what killed him, or maybe we will never know. But whatever the case, rest in peace, Yoshitaka Murayama, the creator of Suikoden and Eiyuden Chronicle, and it breaks my fucking heart that he didn't live to see his new game come to fruition. He completed the game, obviously. He probably played it and felt satisfied, you know, okay, yeah, this is good for release it, this is great, I love it, and then he died. That's, it's tragic news, but at least he had enough time to complete his game and to play it. And maybe it'll be much better than any Suikoden game. I don't know, maybe this is gonna be his masterpiece because he had full creative control over the game. He didn't have Konami on his back telling him what to do now. So it was all him, and I'm pretty sure this game is gonna be his opera prima, how do you call it in English? Well, you know what I mean, his ultimate masterpiece, you know. And it's legendary, tragic, but legendary to die right at the completion, after the completion of your masterpiece, of your best work so far. So, rest in peace, Yoshitaka Murayama. Long live your career, your life, your games. We will never forget you. I will never forget you. You know, one of my heroes is dead. It hits hard, but life goes on. The best we can do is play his games and continue his legacy, at least as fans, and play the damn game. Eiyuden Chronicle. Coming soon in April. Yeah, rest in peace. So, on other great news, East 10 has been finally announced for the fall of this very same year. That's awesome. No specific release date yet, right? But during the fall. I'm thinking it will probably be released on September, October of this very same year. Hopefully they won't wait until November, but I wouldn't be surprised. Usually most of the big ones, the big hits, are released on November, right before, a month before Christmas, so people can have enough time to play the games, especially during the holidays, right? That's always a strategy. So it doesn't matter. We finally got a release season, not date, season, fall of 2023. Man, it looks like it's gonna be one heck of a year for Falcom and Nice America, and I can't wait. I'm a big fucking die-hard fan of both series. So, oh yeah, that's great news, man. Thanks for letting me know. Holy shit, really? Granblue Fantasy Relink sold 1 million copies? I knew about Persona 3 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Wow, Granblue Fantasy selling 1 million copies, that's awesome. It totally deserves it. I think it's a great game. Wow, I didn't know. I don't know how many reviewers or YouTubers made reviews about it. Probably a lot. But mine was kind of unsuccessful. So now I know why. Because everybody and their mom made reviews about it. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's a great game. Definitely needs more attention. Hopefully we can get one day the first game. It was released on phones, but maybe they can do some kind of port. Or just release the anime again on every streaming service so people can watch the anime and get familiar with the characters and the story in the background and then jump into the games. Both Versus and Relink, which are extraordinary games, by the way. So yeah, I'm very surprised too. Yakuza, I'm not surprised. It has a shit ton of fans. The first game, I think it sold like 2 or 3 million copies. So yeah, pretty popular games. Persona 3, I was a little bit surprised. But considering the huge fan base of Persona in this world nowadays, I'm not that surprised. Granblue, I'm shocked. 1 million copies, that's just, oh my god, that's awesome. It's an awesome game, guys. I had to quit. I hurt my hand because in the post game, no spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Well, post games are like this. They get brutally hard, more brutal the more you advance. So I got to a point where I was playing the quests, the boss fights. Well, it's basically God Eater and Monster Hunter. The post game is basically that. It's just boss fight after boss fight over and over and over and over and over again, endlessly. Okay? And because of all the button mashing, I hurt my thumb. It's really bad. And I got pretty late into the post game, and all the bosses were like on extreme difficulty. Not hard, not very hard, no, on extreme difficulty. And I was still winning on normal mode, but man, it was like 10 to 15 minute long fights or 20 minute long fights, and it's just ridiculous. And I got hurt, and I had to quit, and I moved on to an indie RPG that I got recently. It's called Grand Guilds. I'm really enjoying it. When will people admit that Triangle Strategy was the best game of 2022? I don't know, man. Strategy RPGs are the least popular out of the big 3 subgenres of RPGs. Turn-based action and strategy. Strategy seems to always get the worst treatment. Probably because most strategy RPGs are either very grindy or just straight up complicated, therefore difficult. Maybe. Right? I think that's one of the reasons. And a lot of modern gamers probably perceive them as slow and repetitive and boring. Repetitive especially because as much as I love strategy RPGs, let's face it, they are kind of repetitive. I mean, you play a map after map after map after map, and that's all you do, with little to no variety. Whereas in turn-based and action, sometimes you can just walk around towns, talk to people, do side quests, and do different things. And in strategy RPGs, usually not in some of them, but in most of them, you're just like, you get a scene, and maybe you have a base of operations, and you do stuff in there, you prepare for the next mission, rinse and repeat, right? I love that, but I understand why a lot of people can't get into those. It was definitely the best strategy RPG of 2022, definitely. And would I prefer a sequel or prequel set in the Saltrion War? I would prefer a sequel. I think they give you a lot of background on Triangle Strategy, so I don't think a prequel will be necessary in my opinion. So I'm up for a sequel. If you can beat with the same characters, it will be great. But you know how people feel about direct sequels, right? They're all like, "Oh, now I gotta play the first game." You know, I call this the Trails, the anti-Trails mentality nowadays. They're like, "Oh, Trails of Cold Steel is a great game. Oh, but I gotta play Trails in this shit." Well, at least Triangle Strategy is available on Switch and PC. It's not on PlayStation, right? No, it isn't. Yeah, Switch and PC. 2 places to play it at least. So yeah, a sequel will be better in my opinion. A direct sequel, me personally, I would love to see a direct sequel, me personally. But I know most people will prefer like a standalone sequel. Do you think JRPGs are getting popular? Okay, do you think JRPGs getting popular made them better or worse? Both. Whenever anything in this planet gets popular, you got a lot of ups and downs simultaneously. On one hand, it made them better because now a lot more people know them, a lot more people appreciate them. I mean, we're getting JRPGs that 10 years ago wouldn't even have sold 500,000 copies, and now you're telling me they sold 1 million copies? So there's your answer, right? They got more popular, they got better in terms of popularity. The genre is mainstream nowadays. Sure, a lot of JRPGs still struggle on the mainstream, they are not popular, but games that are popular today weren't popular 20 years ago. I've said this many times before. The Persona series, when Persona 3 came out, sure, it was a success, but it was still pretty much a hidden gem. Nobody knew what the fuck it was, you know, until Persona 4 came out and turned the series more popular, and then Persona 5 exploded, and you know the rest, right? But yeah, and also in terms of gameplay mechanics and storytelling, it's a mixed bag. You know, I think a lot of companies are trying to create something original, and some have succeeded while others have failed. And there's also a lot of imitation, just like here on YouTube and in movies and series and all the entertainment business. You know, everybody's ripping everybody off, and JRPGs are no exception. You see a lot of storytelling and a lot of gameplay mechanics that are very similar to other games, and we've seen this before. It's been done to death already. So yeah, so that's the kind of like a mixed bag, you know, some good and bad things about it. Some creative and unique ideas, some new proposals are there that are great, and then you got all the other ripoffs that kind of resemble other successful games like Souls or The Witcher, you know, kind of like that, or Fire Emblem. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. But it also made them worse because now that it's the genre is mainstream and it's getting a heck of a lot more attention. We talked about this a couple of streams ago. We discussed the fact that they are starting to get political and they're starting to get censored, and there's going to be more censorship, less freedom of free speech in video games, less freedom of choice, free development, free thinking, free creative control, and there's going to be forced inclusion, and there's going to be a lot of political bullshit in there. So in that area, they got worse. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. The fact that JRPGs are more popular nowadays, I think it's a double-edged sword. What games that are not considered JRPGs do you think should be considered JRPGs? That's a topic for a video, man. There's a lot of them. Well, some of the Vanillaware games have, for many years, a lot of people don't consider them as RPGs. Okay, Odin Sphere, maybe it's the one, right? I think most people can agree it's an action RPG, period, right? But Dragon's Crown and Muramasa, for example, or 13 Sentinels, a lot of people look at those games and they're like, these are not really RPGs, right? But in my opinion, they should be considered. Maybe not Muramasa. Muramasa is the only one that is arguably not an RPG. It could be argued that it's not, and it kind of doesn't feel like one. It's one of those games. Dragon's Crown and 13 Sentinels, however, do feel like role-playing games to me because you got a lot of the usual aspects and features of JRPGs and characteristics that make them RPGs. Well, that's just my opinion, but I think they should be considered by everybody as role-playing games, but my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot more, man.